Today on Innovations, we're going global, bringing you the latest innovative ideas from around the world, including an eco-safe surfboard. Researchers in Japan can now play with our minds, finding a way to manipulate our sense of balance. Also from Japan comes news of the world's first motorcycle airbag, and pro gamers battle it out at the World Cyber Games in the US. Welcome to Innovations, our global episode, and Japanese researchers have discovered a way to play with our minds. The human sense of balance is sited in the inner ear, which detects movement and provides information to the brain about the direction of gravity. But this innovative team can now trick that sense. By producing weak electrical signals from a headset, they can affect the way a wearer will walk. People wearing the headset move unconsciously to keep their balance, and the team is now experimenting with new ways to exploit this effect, such as computer games. For example, the players in this racing game can now virtually feel the sideways movements in turns. It makes it seem more real. Another use could be to help someone find their way without a map. Combined with a global positioning satellite system, the headset could guide its wearer along a predetermined route. However, researchers say the effect can be easily ignored, so they can't force someone to move against their will. And for their party piece, the researchers have linked the headset system to music in a kind of sensational karaoke. The system is simple, built mainly from standard parts, and the tiny electrical signals are too weak to cause any harm. The team believes this innovative technology could have global ramifications, that is, if they can sway the interest of related industries. Half the globe away in the Middle East, another innovative team of researchers has developed the Spider, an invention that enables people to evacuate themselves from buildings up to 50 stories high. Since the 2001 terrorist attack on the US, the race has been on to develop non-stairway exit systems for the rapid evacuation of tall buildings. And the Spider certainly provides one solution. It's a harness system that lowers you to the ground in minutes before retracting to rescue others. The Spider device is very simple. You climb into a seat harness and your rappel is controlled by a self-braking mechanism and pulley installed at the window. It has a fire-safe steel cable and can carry up to 150 kilograms at a time, and its makers believe it could have saved lives in 2001. With parachutes mooted as an escape device after 9/11, this innovative Spider is no doubt a safer and more practical global solution. And in an innovative move for increased global sales, Apple have teamed up with Motorola so that you can now listen to music on your phone. The makers of the iPod have allowed Motorola to incorporate their iTunes software into this phone, which can store up to 100 songs. Apple's other offering is a slimmed-down version of the existing iPod, the iPod Nano. It stores up to 1,000 songs, sports iPod trademarks look, and sells for less than the phone. It's also thin as a pencil. But don't think Sony Ericsson has been left behind. The Walkman phone, named after the company's iconic portable cassette player, can store more than Motorola's 130 songs. Competition is so fierce that Motorola is already working on new handset designs and an increase in storage space. For the moment though, there's no question to this man which gadget is the coolest and which he'd prefer to own. Backed by some heavy global sales, it's clearly the innovative Apple Nano. Every year, more than 1.4 billion bottles of wine are spoiled by cork taint, contamination that costs the global wine industry more than $627 million a year. The bad smell and taste is caused by a tiny molecule called TCA, and previously the only solution was to pour the wine down the sink. Now, however, some innovative French biochemists have found a way to clean up the compound responsible. With this copolymer material shaped like a bunch of grapes, which separates the TCA from the decanted wine. It will soon be available in a do-it-yourself home kit, and the operation itself is simple enough for the average imbiber. The wine is poured into a specially shaped decanter in which the copolymer device is immersed until the noxious taste and pungent smell disappear. It takes from 15 minutes to several hours to bring back the true flavour of the wine. The scientists' discovery comes as increasing numbers of vineyards abandon traditional corks in favour of non-cork substitutes because of TCA. Meanwhile, in the length of a French lunch break, this innovative process has worked its magic. The 2 bottles tested are no longer corked. A short distance away in Belgium, and staff at the Liège University Research Centre were busy unwrapping the secrets of a couple of 2,500-year-old mummies. As one mummy of unclear origins was checked, it became clear that it had been badly damaged. Remains were visible through the loose wrappings, which had once hugged the decomposing body. The other mummy was believed to be King Rhee's barber and porter, priest Osimos, and was in much better condition. However, despite any setbacks, this innovative team pressed ahead with its goal, to use a CT scan to finally determine the anonymous mummy's gender and identity, and confirm the other was indeed priest Osimos. It is hoped that the body scans will be so thorough that scientists will eventually be able to rebuild these mummies' faces and clarify some of their well-kept ancient secrets. It's also a rare chance for Egyptologists to piece together the life and customs within the royal household of the era, around the 7th or 6th century BC. The famous King Tutankhamun mummy also underwent the same CT scanning technique. It's an innovative procedure which allows the body to be kept under its original wraps and minimises any risk of damage or decomposition of the remains. Scientists were expecting to take a whole year to penetrate 25 centuries of mystery with these 2 mummies, and are hoping their discoveries will take on global significance. And in the wake of the 2005 terrorist attacks on London, the British government has decided to use some innovative technology, developing spy planes for urban surveillance. They've opened a centre in Wales for the project, which has been boosted by the Ministry of Defence purchasing a Hermes unmanned aerial vehicle. Best known for their military role, drones like this gather intelligence without risking the lives of pilots. They controlled from the ground by operators who program onboard guidance computers. Airborne longer and cheaper than helicopters, they've been used in all kinds of missions, from border patrols to crop spraying. Lobbying is currently underway to relax aviation controls and put more of these in busy British skies. And if this innovation is successful in countering possible terrorist activity within the UK, then they could soon be seen on a global scale. Welcome back to Innovations, our global episode. And cosmologists in the UK are using virtual reality to study the origins and evolution of the universe. This bank of supercomputers is assisting the researchers, based at Durham Institute of Computational Cosmology. Headed by Professor Carlos Frank, they have created a detailed simulation of our own Milky Way galaxy for the first time. And they did it by applying known physical laws to the latest theories about the Big Bang. Professor Frank and his colleagues have also worked on the Millennium Simulation. It is the most powerful model yet of the evolution of the universe, from its origins at the Big Bang to the scattered clusters of galaxies that astronomers see now. Physicists from around the world worked on the project, one of the most complex computer calculations in history. And the results have been published as stereoscopic movies, so researchers can study the details of its structure by wearing 3D glasses. Such simulations enable these scientists to test different theories to compare with observations of the real universe. And when the results match reality, their theory grows stronger. As the power of supercomputers grows, these innovative researchers expect to gain greater insight about our global place in the whole grand scheme. Now from outer space to closer to home, and a couple of innovative British surfers have come up with a green alternative to fiberglass surfboards. They've made a board entirely out of natural materials that lets them enjoy their sport without impacting on the environment. Cornwall's Eden project, the world's biggest greenhouse, was where the eco board was born. When a balsa tree had to be felled in the humid tropics biome, it was suggested that it be made into a surfboard, and all the other elements of the eco-board are grown here too. The hemp used in the eco-board is grown in the outside areas of the Eden Project. It is in fact a cannabis plant, albeit a variety without any intoxicating qualities. The Eden Project has put the eco-board at the centre of an exhibition illustrating an about-turn in surfboard technology. It aims to show how modern boards are increasingly mimicking the materials of their forebears. The boards still need a bit of tweaking to perfect their weight and speed, and it may take a while for the idea to catch on. But in the meantime, this innovative surfer can take pride in having one of the most environmentally friendly boards around the globe. Continuing our global innovations theme, and Japan's Honda Motor Company has revealed what it calls the world's first airbag for motorcycles. It's the first to be mounted on a production model, and Honda plans to offer it on the new Goldwing touring bike in the US. The airbag model is built in between the bike's handles and activates when 4 crash sensors detect a severe frontal collision. This creates a buffer as the rider is flung forward on impact. Honda, Japan's third biggest car maker and the world's top motorcycle supplier, said the airbag would be effective in significantly reducing fatalities and serious injuries. They've cited data which shows that most occur during frontal collisions. Honda will eventually offer the airbag option in Europe and Japan, but declined to say how much the add-on would cost. The 1800cc Goldwing is Honda's biggest motorcycle and starts at $18,600. Officials said Honda aimed to offer the airbag on more motorcycles in future, but acknowledged a number of hurdles. Because the airbag works by absorbing kinetic energy from the forward-flying rider, the motorcycle itself needs to be heavy enough not to tip over, throwing the rider over and past the deployed airbag. The airbag also needs enough space to blow up safely, meaning the system can't be mounted on a sports bike where the rider must lean forward. Still, having this innovative airbag could mean the difference between life and death. Back to outer space news, and some innovative British scientists have taken a step forward in being able to predict solar explosions. The team from University College in London is making a vital contribution in a field that can have global impact on communication satellites and space research in general. As a result, we now have a more accurate picture than ever before. The Earth is protected from the Sun's full impact by its magnetic field, the magnetosphere. But these explosions can still generate storms that have a bearing on our daily lives. The team's SOHO spacecraft monitors the Sun and our magnetic field, while its 4 cluster satellites orbit the Earth, providing information on the direction of the solar explosion. Though such an explosion poses no direct threat to Earth, its effect remains considerable. These explosions, caused by collisions in the Sun's own magnetic field, vary in frequency during an 11-year cycle. The peak can reach 10 a day, but in the minimum period, the solar flares are more powerful. The innovative Solar B mission has been launched with this objective in mind and will no doubt have global consequences. Welcome back to Innovations, and in further news on the global front, professional video game players love a good cyber battle, and every year the best of them get to compete at the World Cyber Games. To the untrained eye, it appears to be a room full of young men playing video games, but to those in the know, it's actually an intense competition. These people are cyber athletes, and more than 180 of them were battling it out for a spot on the US team. Individuals and teams who win at the US final then move on to represent their country at the grand final. The World Cyber Games is our globe's largest computer and video game festival, with tournaments in 70 countries. 2004's Grand Final, held here in San Francisco, hosted 642 gamers from 59 countries around the globe. In more news from the Eden Project, this global garden is using innovative technology to cultivate more than 100,000 plants from around the world. The $207 million project consists of the largest conservatories ever constructed. 2 glasshouses built on a 15-hectare former clay quarry in Cornwall, England. It's a monumental feat of modern-day engineering. The humid tropics biome is one of the glasshouses and contains the largest rainforest in captivity. But what the founders have hoped to achieve is not a botanic garden-like facade. They've tried to create a sense of wildness and the natural. Inside, the glasshouses are 2 fully functioning ecosystems, with plants from places including the Amazon, Africa, the Mediterranean and oceanic islands. Temperatures average 35 degrees Celsius, helping the plants to grow a staggering 4.5 metres a year. The plants are kept moist by misters and waterfalls. Sensors inside the greenhouse gauge humidity and temperature and control a distinct heating main, which effectively works like a giant central heating system. When the dome gets too hot, usually due to heavy sunlight, computer-controlled windows on the biome automatically open. Eden is an innovative nursery of green technology, but it's ultimately designed to reconnect people with the world they live in. Now to Switzerland, and the US Embassy to the United Nations in Geneva is presenting an innovative face on global climate change. The building is now a showpiece for sun power, with almost every free surface covered by solar cells. 950 square metres of solar panels have been installed on rooftops, along walls and over windows. The electricity produced is sent directly into Geneva's grid, and a symbolic cheque was presented to the embassy recently for the power it expects to generate for the city in a year. The embassy can produce enough energy to run 37 households. The solar cells will pay for themselves within 10 years. It's yet another innovative way of encouraging the global effort of renewable energy production. And in the US itself, Eileen Collins is one innovative woman who has managed to make herself a household name around the globe. First, she made history back in 1999 when she became the first ever female commander of the space shuttle. But then, in mid-2005, she led another shuttle crew into space for the first time since the Columbia disaster of 2003, when all 7 astronauts on that mission were killed during re-entry. Her determination was obvious from her youth. At the age of 19, she went to her local airfield and told the flight instructors that she wouldn't leave until they taught her to fly. They agreed, and in time, all her dreams were to come true. In 1991, Eileen became an official NASA astronaut, and within 3 years she became the first female shuttle commander. Her latest crew delivered long-awaited supplies and scientific equipment crucial to the continued assembly of the International Space Station, the largest man-made structure in space. Meanwhile, back on Earth, it's now certain that Eileen and her innovative crew have inspired the next generation of astronauts to even greater global pursuits. In our final segment on a global theme, innovative researchers in the United States have fabricated a new kind of carbon film with an astonishing list of physical properties. The material, known as carbon nanotube sheets, can conduct electricity and give off light. It's also transparent and flexible, thousands of times thinner than a human hair, yet stronger than the strongest steel. The discovery is being hailed as a global breakthrough in nanotechnology, the study of structures and devices so small that they may be made from just a few atoms. The nanosheets are stronger than the same weight of strengthened steel, and they can even change light or waste heat into electricity. Researchers see a global future for this smallest of technologies, with this revolutionary material being used in everything from artificial muscles to wearable computer screens. Only 2 years prior, the team spun carbon nanotube fibers together to make nano silk, 4 times stronger than spider silk, until then the toughest material known. This latest breakthrough is expected to hasten the adoption of carbon nanotubes in commercial and industrial applications on a global scale. Back in space, and Eileen Collins wasn't the only one setting records. Russian cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev can lay claim to a unique achievement, clocking the most days spent in space, almost 748 days over a 20-year career orbiting the globe. Krikalev, an International Space Station veteran, beat the previous record of 747 days, 14 hours, 14 minutes and 11 seconds. That record was set by fellow Russian Sergei Advedev. Krikalev's space travels have also included stints on the now-defunct Mir space station. In its time, it was a spectacular innovation, so much so that it was considered the crown jewel of the Soviet space program. However, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and with failing systems still working well past their use-by date, Mir was eventually destroyed in 2001. Krikalev has also travelled on US space shuttles, as well as the Russian Soyuz spaceships, in a long and illustrious career. Sergei Krikalev made his first long-duration mission to Mir in 1988. No doubt, the wealth of information gleaned from each of his missions since has contributed much to our global knowledge of space. And finally, after a lapse of more than 30 years, space researchers are again looking to land people on the moon. But this time they're interested in building a lunar settlement as a stepping stone to explore Mars. And if a lunar settlement does happen at some stage in the near future, it may be thanks to an innovative space probe called SMART 1, which is utilizing revolutionary camera technology designed by Swiss astronomers. To get to the moon, the SMART 1 lunar mission converted solar power into electricity to drive a beam of charged particles called ions. The ion beam gave the probe a tiny thrust of 5 grams, enough to guide it to the moon over 13 months. The engine can run for years without refueling and is ideal for long unmanned space missions. In contrast, the manned Apollo missions took just 3 days, but needed tons of fuel for the chemical rockets. Launched in 2003, the European Space Agency's probe is now mapping the moon's surface mineralogy and scouting for signs of water ice. And the onboard camera will eventually produce the first high-resolution map of the moon. In the meantime, though, to the scientists' delight, SMART 1 has managed to discover a tiny area that could be a promising site to set up a future manned outpost. Located near the moon's north pole, the region is bathed in perpetual sunlight, which makes it an ideal location for solar cells to fuel a lunar economy. Now that we've shown you some innovations with a truly global impact, make sure you're watching next time when we delve into the ever-expanding world of technology. Today on Innovations, we're taking you into the world of technology, and saving lives in the pool has just got a lot easier. She may be a bit odd looking, but this tiny companion robot called Wakamaru has lots of chip-induced charm. While a new study tests out the latest high blood pressure medication, and Frankfurt's annual International Motor Show takes place in Germany. Welcome to Innovations, our technology episode. And a state-of-the-art computer system has just saved its first life in the UK. Poseidon is a world-first drowning detection system, which picks up anyone lying motionless in a pool for 10 seconds or more. The 10-year-old girl had sunk in the deep end of a pool in North Wales. The footage of the incident and rescue was also recorded by Poseidon, thanks to 8 cameras situated on the ceiling. They constantly scan the pool for movement and compare the images on a database to detect whether someone is in distress or unconscious. The simulation you're about to watch shows just how fast Poseidon reacts. Within 10 seconds, it raises the alarm, alerting the on-duty lifeguard to a possible drowning. The system is not designed to replace lifeguards, but is said to provide a failsafe in case an incident is missed in the crowded, noisy environment of a swimming pool. And parents have certainly welcomed that extra eye. This $117,000 innovation has already been installed in more than 100 pools in France, Germany, and the US, where its technology has already saved lives. Still in the UK, and 2 innovative events mark the start of the London Design Festival, an annual showcase for contemporary technological design. First up was the Bombay Sapphire Stretch, a giant 75-metre bench made entirely of rubber bands. It was one of 170 projects unveiled in the UK capital. The installation was made out of 12,000 giant rubber bands and showed how contemporary design solutions don't have to be high-tech. Its creator said it's a relatively simple answer to a functional need. Then at dusk, in the middle of the city, cyclists with luminous sculptures crossed Westminster Bridge, demonstrating yet more design creativity. While lighting up the skyline across the Thames River, it was felt that these laser-sintered nylon lamps, blending sculpture and technology, would make design much more accessible to the general public living and working in London. Of course, the tourists weren't left out either. It's hoped that the 2-week annual festival will entertain, intrigue and educate people while showcasing some of the most creative and innovative technological designs. And in Japan, the latest in innovative gaming technology was on display at the Tokyo Game Show. Long gone are the days when computer games were seen as the preserve of awkward teenagers. Gaming is big business, and the world's games and console makers slug it out at enormous expos like this. But despite over 130 companies attending this show, the main players in the battle for the hearts and minds of video game fans remain industry giants Microsoft and Sony. Both have brought out new consoles, Microsoft with Xbox 360 and Sony with PlayStation 3, and fans here were the first in the world to try out these latest versions. But it's Sony that dominates the Japanese market, and they're hoping the PS3 will continue that trend. The console is powered by a new computer chip called Cell that Sony says will also drive digital electronics products of the future. It also uses the next generation video format, Blu-ray disc, and has a movie quality video screen. And of course, Sony tantalized fans with some yet to be released titles. To compete, Microsoft has signed popular Japanese designers to make games exclusive for Xbox, and players can hook up online with over 2 million other users worldwide. They were just two of the many great technological innovations on display. The latest innovative technology has enabled a recent exhibition in Italy to give visitors an unprecedented glimpse of ancient Rome. The remarkable exhibition, held at the Roman Forum, brought back to life landmark buildings so real that visitors could take a walk inside and around them. But nothing was actually real. It was all in a computerized virtual world called Imagine Ancient Rome. Visitors could enter the hallway of a magnificent villa and gaze up at the high ceiling, or peer at sites normally closed to the public. The guidebook said, "Look at Rome as an ancient Roman," and from the start, visitors were gripped. They could put on 3D glasses and then look at virtual 3D computer-generated images, like the interior of an ancient Pompeii villa. And the click of a mouse was all that was needed for anyone to go for a walk. Experts said these innovative virtual models could help test technological theories about ancient Rome, such as whether the Colosseum's foundations really could bear the strain of 70,000 spectators. Which all goes to show that when in Rome, now there's virtually no excuse not to do as the Romans did. Back in the UK, and at least one innovative airline is trialling some new technology. The in-flight use of mobile phones for business passengers. It's experimental and limited, and will only be used at altitudes of 9,000 metres. But is this a good thing? For many, mobiles are a vital communications tool, but for others, they're simply intrusive. Either way, it's almost impossible to get away from them. Still, no more cramming in as many phone calls as possible before flights, and these phones will also receive emails. The airline is piloting the service out of Heathrow Airport in London, although there are a few technical challenges to overcome before its full operation. That's to ensure that those using mobiles won't interfere with the sensitive flight deck equipment. Not all passengers appear to be delighted with the idea, but for those obsessed with keeping in touch, this innovative airline is making technology work just for them. And from Spain, a group of innovative scientists are developing technology that could one day help astronauts find life on Mars. The cyborg astrobiologist is a wearable computer which can observe the landscape with a video camera, see what the astronauts see, and suggest places that might be worth further investigation. The system is a huge technological step in advancing our understanding of the Red Planet. NASA's exploration rovers have revealed much about Mars, but they can't understand the importance of what they're discovering, and they struggle in rocky and steep terrain. The cyborg offers an innovative solution, and here is how that artificial intelligence is developed. The computer analyzes the images according to color, saturation, and intensity. Then it generates a series of uncommon feature maps, which leave out areas that appear to offer nothing new to scientists. The system is showing real progress in detecting life from non-life, and the biological deposits found in this Martian-like area of Spain are helping these innovative scientists obtain the valuable technological data they need. Welcome back to Innovations, our technology episode. And the former NASA scientist who invented RoboSapien is back with his latest creation, RoboSapien V2. Mark Tilden, a self-confessed roboholic who once constructed a Meccano suit of armor for his pet cat, says he spent his entire life looking to develop the perfect robot. RoboSapien V2 is the latest in a line of multi-million selling interactive robots. He's much larger and more advanced than his predecessor. V2 is 25 centimeters taller, can react, warp, talk, and recognize colors. Tilden worked for NASA and the US military, but was British-born and educated in Canada. Considered a bit of a maverick robotics physicist, he is perhaps best known for inventing complex robotic movements in bug-like creatures without microprocessors. His latest incarnations, though, get many of their personality traits and voices from him. Industry watchers, including those at Stuff magazine, a leading UK gadget and lifestyle monthly, are keeping a close eye on Tilden and his growing robot empire. Now in his mid-40s, Mark Tilden lives in China, where these innovative RoboSapiens are built. He says the ultimate goal is to use state-of-the-art technology to create a robot that can conquer Mars. Now that really would be stepping out of the shadows. And in more robotic technology news, this time from Japan, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Limited has unveiled its latest innovative companion and butler robot. The internet-linked robot, called Wakamaru, has a friendly personality that could make her a much-loved member of the family. She's able to recognize up to 10 people and call them by name. The 100-centimeter-tall Wakamaru will approach and greet family members in a gentle, feminine voice when they arrive home. And she will also offer to pass on telephone messages or read out any emails that may have arrived while everyone was out. In the morning, she'll glide to your bedside to wake you up with the news headlines and weather forecast, remind you of your appointments for the day, and may even invite you to join her in some light exercise. And if security at home is a worry, give her a call on your mobile phone when you're out and check the situation through a camera mounted on her forehead. Wakamaru has been designed to fit into any home or office as naturally as possible, so that family members or workers won't feel uneasy about its existence. But this kind of companionship doesn't come cheap. A limited edition of 100 Wakamaru robots recently went on sale at a cost of $14,260 each. But that's not all. There's also a monthly maintenance charge of around $100. It's innovative technology that might not be quite within the reach of most of us just yet. Continuing our theme on innovative technology, and mammograms are now available that allow doctors to use digital imaging to help spot cancer. And a landmark study has found that they are better than the standard X-rays for young women and those with dense breasts, but not for most postmenopausal women. Researchers say the findings from this study should change the way women under 50 are screened for breast cancer, although there is nothing different about the examination itself. However, the image can be manipulated so you can tell tissue differences more readily. For 32-year-old Cara Buskin, with a family history of breast cancer, getting a digital mammogram means peace of mind. In the study, carried out on almost 43,000 women, researchers found digital mammography detected up to 28% more cancers in women 50 and under, or those who had dense breast tissue. And in a further benefit, test results can be stored on a computer and sent electronically whenever a woman moves or a new doctor needs to see them. It's proven to be a technological innovation with great significance. And in another innovative trial conducted in the UK, it has been discovered that thousands of lives could be saved using a new combination of drugs to lower blood pressure. High blood pressure, heart attacks and diabetes are major problems in the Western world, with many people now requiring treatment. To counter this, 20,000 patients with high blood pressure took part in a special survey. Half were given the older beta blockers and diuretics, while the rest were given a new combination. The results showed those with the new drug combination stood a far better chance in fighting the risk of disease. In light of this new development, these innovative investigators now believe international recommendations for managing high blood pressure should be reviewed. Welcome back to Innovations, and in further news on technology, the European Space Agency has launched a new polar satellite. Cryosat has joined the ESA's other satellite, Enviasat, orbiting the Earth's poles, measuring the ice cover to determine the extent of global warming. The satellite will be monitored from Svalsat, the biggest satellite ground station in Northern Europe, and the one most international space agencies rely on for information. It's located on the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, from where polar orbits are most visible, and that means communication can be made up to 14 times a day. Enviasat has special radar equipment for making land measurements and tracking natural phenomena, such as B15, a giant iceberg that split away from the Antarctic ice field in 2000. It has drifted more than 1,000 kilometres, and Enviasat has been keeping track of the damage it's caused. But not everyone thinks this is a result of global warming. Enviasat has been observing changes like this since it was launched back in 2002. The European Space Agency's innovative new satellite, Cryosat, is equipped with even more sophisticated technology, dedicated to studying the ice. It's hoped that the two will help us understand more about global warming. In further news from the ESA, its first mission to the planet Venus is underway. The Earth's closest neighbour, Venus, is the most luminous object in the sky after the Sun and our Moon. The planet is Earth's near twin in size, but the two have little else in common. Temperatures reach 470 degrees Celsius, and its crushing atmospheric pressure is 90 times that on Earth. Venus was the first planet to be explored by space probes, but for over a decade there has been no further exploration. So the ESA launched the innovative Venus Express mission to better understand the nature and radically different evolution of Earth's twin. The latest technological advances will be used to make the first global examination of the atmosphere of Venus. Composed essentially of carbon dioxide, it has become a greenhouse paradise, choking the planet. Sunlight is trapped and cannot radiate out into space as on Earth. No other planet in our solar system has surface temperatures so high. The data collected could help scientists understand Earth's possible future problems with the greenhouse effect. Another phenomenon that scientists want to study closely is the absorption of ultraviolet wavelengths 80 kilometers up in the atmosphere. It's a possible indication of biological activity. This innovative spacecraft will spend 2 Venusian days, that's a year and a half in Earth time, on its technological mission. Back on Earth, and Dubai is set to become home to what has been marketed as the world's 8th wonder, the technologically innovative Palm Island project. For the few who can afford the luxury of living on one of these 3 man-made islands, they will reside on archipelagos shaped in the form of Arabic letters. They are words that spell out an ode written by de facto ruler Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. Not everyone who rides a horse is a jockey. Great men rise to great challenges. But one great challenge is that of environmental concerns raised by the World Wildlife Fund. They say that the construction of the islands has destabilised the area's delicate marine ecosystem. The only known coral reef off the shores of Dubai was destroyed during dredging work on the palm-shaped islands. Developers argue that most of the coral was dead to begin with and that they've already set in place a larger artificial system to develop new coral reefs. But the WWF insists that the problem lies in the fact that this new coral community is artificial and will remain so. The previous coral reef that was torn down had adapted to this rough local environment over a long period of time and can never be recreated the way nature intended it to be. Palm Jeremiah is a technological innovation that has made headlines across the globe. Let's hope it will end up being for all the right reasons. And back in Britain, young people are being encouraged to becoming innovative business entrepreneurs in a special government-backed campaign. The Make Your Mark project calls for businesses, schools and colleges to promote a more ideas-based approach to training and education. More young people in Britain want to start up their own businesses than the European average. So the campaign, the brainchild of Britain's main business organisations, also calls for a change to the focus of education. Existing young entrepreneurs say even the most ideas-rich mind needs constant encouragement. With globalisation and technological change increasing competitive pressure on all countries, Britain's economy, and indeed those around the world, will increasingly depend on young innovators with good ideas and the drive to turn them into successful businesses. In our final segment on technology, some innovative scientists have found a cheap way to extract hydrogen using solar energy. Hydrogen is the most plentiful element in the universe and has long been viewed as the potential renewable pollution-free fuel of the future. Up until now, extracting hydrogen has been expensive, but an international group of researchers have developed a revolutionary new method, bringing closer the dream of using hydrogen as a green fuel. The $3 million project has as its key a solar tower. Mirrors are angled to focus the sun's rays onto the tower. The concentrated sunlight reaches 1,200 degrees Celsius and is channeled into a reaction chamber. Powdered zinc oxide is added, charcoal is mixed in, and the concentrated sunbeam cooks the ingredients, transforming it into pure zinc metal. Pure zinc is one of the key ingredients to releasing hydrogen from water. It is piped into a laboratory and mixed with steam water, where it separates into zinc oxide and hydrogen. Nothing is exhausted, which means this technological innovation could give us unlimited fuel. From India comes news of a technological boom in the recycling of computer waste from the United States, Europe, Asia and the Middle East. But whilst this is an innovative and eco-friendly idea, it is anything but safe for recycling workers. The environmental group Greenpeace says the workers are routinely exposed to a cocktail of chemicals that can lead to devastating effects on health as well as the local environment. Greenpeace scientist Dr. Kevin Brigden says the soil and air samples analysed from India are alarming, and with good reason. Workers dip circuit boards and cables into plastic drums full of acid, which strips cables of copper and traces of silver. Once used, the acid is dumped in an open sewer. Old computer monitors are recycled too. They're reconditioned, recoated with lead powder and made ready for resale on the second-hand market. Heavy metals like lead, mercury and cadmium are particularly toxic to the nervous system. Electronic waste is one of the fastest growing types of waste in the world today, partly fueled by the growth of personal computers as well as their rapid rate of obsolescence. Local environmentalists say that manufacturers should be taking a stronger lead. Recycling a computer in the US or Europe costs as much as $20, but in India it's as low as $2. While India emerges as a technological powerhouse, poverty and cheap labour continue to make it a dumping ground for the world's electronic waste. And finally, in Germany, the latest technological innovations in cars and powerful motors captivate visitors every year at Frankfurt's International Motor Show. This time round, Honda, Peugeot and General Motors Opel were all attracting visitors to their stands. Honda were displaying their flagship Civic, and the company were hoping that it will make a comeback in Europe through new diesel-powered models. And then there was Citroën displaying their finest offerings. The Frankfurt International Motor Show opens its doors to manufacturers and visitors each September, and is a showcase of the best technology that money can buy. Chinese automaker Geely was also displaying its vehicles at the exhibition. Geely, whose name means good luck, was one of 3 Chinese car manufacturers making their debut here. It served as a warning to other auto groups that the Chinese, with their cheap labour costs and low prices, are well on their way to joining a highly competitive market. Their cars start at $4,000 US. Now that we've shown you some amazing technological innovations, make sure you're watching next time when we check out the latest in designs.